Welcome to the Fight with Teddy Atlas, presented by Dynamic Striking. I'm Ken Rideout, joined as always by the voice of combat sports, the legend Teddy Atlas. Teddy, how you doing?
Not as good as you, but that's not unexpected. You're at Shelter Island at your in-laws' beautiful estate on what kind of river? Which river is that? I mean, you're on so many
It's
different
on.
rivers, I'm confused.
It's in between the North and South Fork, so it's in between Sag Harbor and Greenport in
Oh,
Peconic Bay.
beautiful area and peaceful, I would assume, and beautiful with your
So
beautiful
nice.
family there. So enjoy your summer, enjoy your vacation there. It's great, and since you're in my, general vicinity, we'll be getting together next week to do a couple fight plans,
That's
which
right.
for these big fights coming up, Triple G and Canelo, and of course for the heavyweight big one, Joshua and Usyk. So the fans can look forward to that, and while you're doing all that beautiful surfing and fishing and barbecuing, I've been sticking to my diet for the fans out there that want to know, and I've lost 15 pounds. I'm teetering between 15 and 16, so I can't say 16. It's 15. But
You look great. We'll be sharing clothes any day now.
not yet, not yet, not ever.
You get.
No,
You're getting
no.
there.
But so I want to, for a moment, we obviously, sometimes I work the corner of people. I want to work the corner right now of our fans out there that are struggling with weight, because I know what a struggle that can be, not only physically but emotionally, mentally. And I just want to, for a moment, touch on that. Obviously, in my business, training fighters, my God, 40 years now, I'm in the business of taking weight off of men, where it's not unusual to take 35, sometimes even 40. I try to whisper it because it's not what you want to do in 8-week camp. But sometimes it's not about what you want to do in life. It's about what you're stuck with, what you have to do, what your mandate is, what your job is. So I've gotten in situations where we've had to do it. So it's nothing unusual. But for the average person out there that's struggling, I want to give you a little bit of this. I'm thinking about you guys, where when you're consumed by your appetite, controlled by your appetite, controlled by one thing I'll jump in there about. I always say that I'm going to connect the dots in this podcast with me and Ken with life. Use boxing, use fighting as a metaphor because everyone's in a fight. This is a fight to lose weight. Everyone's in a fight. It just depends, what are you fighting for? And I always say I want to connect the dots between life with everybody out there and whatever their fight is, and use this to do that. So in the fight with weight, as I say about the fight with boxing and UFC, it's mental. Most of it's mental. I understand the physical side. I understand the appetite. I understand the desire to eat. I understand, all of those things, the habits that we've gotten ourselves into. But the mental side, it's always there. It's always the most important side. It really is. The psychological part of it. And what I want to say to our great fans out there that are in this fight is that when you're at that moment where you got to make up your mind, okay, I'm going to make a stand. I'm going to make a stand here, and I'm going to go on a diet. And you're making a stand for whatever your reason is: health, looks, ego, vanity, just pride, whatever it is. The summer's coming up. You want to look better on the beach like Ken does, without a shirt on. Whatever, you want to fit into that dress, into that suit, whatever it happens to be. Once you make that commitment, you're going to the early part is the hardest part. And you're going to get to a point where it's going to be a choice between sticking with your commitment, not eating certain things, right, on the diet, or not sticking to it. And I want to give you a couple tips. When you get to that point where you're really besieged, it's almost like you're taken prisoner by your desire to eat. I get it. And you're ready to cave because your desire to have that is so great. To have whatever it is, cheeseburger, pasta, well, I don't know, whatever, cake, whatever it happens to be that you shouldn't have once you make this commitment. I want you, for that moment, we use this in lots of things. You hear the term visualization. It's a very handy tool. I want you to use that tool, visualization, where you start to think, okay, I want to have this, and you're thinking only of that moment because it's going to satisfy you. I want you to think beyond that moment. I want you to visualize what it is you're trying to do, how you want to look, where you've looked in the mirror and you're just not happy, where you've tried to get into pants or a suit or a dress or whatever, and the button doesn't quite reach the hole. You don't get there, and you're not happy, and it gets you down. I want you to remember that. Bring that memory back. I know we want to push away not pleasant memories, but in this kind of case, bring them back. Remind yourself of why you're doing this, and visualize what you want to be, how you want to look. And don't think so much about that moment. Think about how you're going to feel once you get past that moment. Think about how you're going to feel tomorrow morning. And you've been there. You know what I'm talking about. But you got to get there. That's the key. You got to get. That's like getting through a tough neighborhood without getting beaten up or without, something happening. Or tough terrain in the woods without, stepping in quicksand. You got to get there. And I want you to get there. So to get there, visualize how you want to look, how you want to feel tomorrow morning, rather than how you're feeling right now at that moment. Just life is about moments. It really is. Fights are about moments. 30-second moment that you got to deal with the guy. And if you deal with it, you get past that moment. But if you don't, well, you're stuck. You're stuck in an eternity of regret. Just moments. So to get past that moment, think about how you want to look tomorrow. How you want to feel when you get up in the morning. You're going to feel good. You're going to say, I got past it. Okay, another day in front of me. I'm going to get there. I'm going to let the desire to eat be replaced, that overwhelming desire. Let it be replaced by the desire to get up tomorrow morning and know you conquered it. Know you got past it. Know that you feel proud of yourself. Let that desire, that know you're going to look better and feel better. Let that desire replace the initial desire. And then, obviously, there's the physical things you can do. Can I talk about Athletic Greens, a great supplement, no doubt about it. But there's the things, first of all, drink more water. Allow your food when you have your meal. Allow it to digest before you continue eating. Drink water. Help yourself with good nutritional tips, good nutritional habits. Yes, but the most important part, what is it, guys? What is it? It's the mental side. And that's what I'm addressing right now. Okay? So that's it. A moment in the corner with Teddy. And now we can get to the other fights. Yeah, please, Ken.
I got one other tip for you. If you're super hungry and you feel like you can't control your appetite, eat an apple, wait 15 minutes. If you're still hungry, eat another apple. Apple has a lot of fiber. Any kind of fruit will have a lot of fiber. It'll make you feel full. If you can eat it and wait 15 minutes, 100% will work.
In other words, get into good nutritional habits. Help yourself.
Yep.
No, if you're drowning in a pool, what do you grab? A life preserver. You grab a float, right? Well, there's things out there to grab when you start drowning a little bit in this fight. There's things to help you. Like Ken just mentioned one. The water, have a glass of water, have a bottle of water, have an apple, have a piece of fruit, whatever that fruit is. Get past that moment. Get past that instant, and you'll be happy for it.
That's it. Well, speaking of diet, two guys that aren't afraid to have a big meal, Derek Chisora and
I think
Kubrat,
I think Rob's going to have a clip here to put up that we've never done before. Seriously, to put up a clip. Probably Thursday they get up, right? With today's Monday, this gets up tomorrow, Tuesday, and the people know that. And then Thursday we could get a clip up there where dietary tips in the corner with Teddy and Ken.
There you go. I smell some new sponsorships coming on in addition to our friends at Athletic Greens. AthleticGreens.com. Use the promo code ATLAS for 10 free travel packs with your first purchase. You can't go wrong. That will always help your diet. Derek Chisora and Kubrat, the kissing bandit, Pulev were in action. Great heavyweight fight. Not the highest level of tacticians per se, but they both did what they had to do on Saturday night. I thought it was super competitive. I saw all your tweets, so I'm not going to steal your thunder. Talk to me. Tell them what you saw on that in the
well, first of all,
Pulev Chisora fight.
No, listen. First of all, you got to understand, Chisora is 38 years old, and Pulev is 41. I mean, that's they're not spring chicken. And Chisora, he's been in so many tough fights, so many wars, that I find him amazing. His resiliency. I really do. I like his personality too.
I love his personality for boxing.
I love his class he shows, win or lose, where obviously he's had his share of tough losses, always tough fights, where he shows class afterwards in the ring, sportsmanship, respect. For his opponent, where when he lost to Usyk, he went into his locker room and brought him a cheeseburger, and he brought him. Well, he brought two. He brought one for himself and one for Usyk, because obviously they were on a diet, right? And they couldn't eat that kind of stuff. And he went in there and he broke bread with him. He shared a meal with the guy that a few moments earlier they were trying to take each other's heads off. I think that's beautiful. I think that's what makes this sport beautiful. And I think the reason why you get it more in this sport is because both fighters know the dark places they just traveled, and they have respect for each other, having traveled to those dark places and those scary places, those dangerous places. And they even though they were trying to take each other's head off, they showed that respect and admiration for each other as men, as human beings, as gladiators, as warriors, as fighters. So I see Chisora. He reminds me a little of Arturo Gatti. God bless him, the late Arturo Gatti.
By the way, he brought those. I think he brought those Five Guy burgers into Pulev as well after the fight. That must be his signature move.
Yeah, it is. I think you're right. And
God knows he gave Pulev enough crap before the fight started. My God, the build-up for that fight was super entertaining, which is always the case with Chisora. He was on Pulev every press conference, but it was good, fun, entertaining. It wasn't like that, I'm going to murder you and crazy talk. It was just good fight hype. I liked it.
Listen, he's got a big following over there in the UK. It was at the U2 Arena. It was full, I believe.
O2.
I'm sorry. And I'm thinking of the band U2. And it was full, I believe, to capacity. I believe it was anyway. But he's got an admiring fan base that admire the way he fights. Look, the reason he reminds me of Arturo Gatti is because he recuperates after being hurt so fast the way Gatti used to, which is amazing. And he also fights like Joe Frazier, just smoking Joe, always coming, moving his head, coming with big shots. Joe Frazier was big left hooks. Chisora is mostly big right hands, looping right hands, but both hands. And he goes to the body hard too. Listen, it was a tremendous fight. I have nothing but admiration and bravo to both. I thought Pulev fought a smart fight. I thought he fought the right fight on the outside, using his height and his reach, trying to catch Pulev on the way in, make him pay for real estate. Nail him as he was coming forward, and take advantage of that physical advantage of height and reach. And I thought he did. But then every time that he'd start to really get control of the rounds, which he did, all of a sudden, Chisora would land a big looping right hand or go to the body to get in and then go land a big looping right hand. And every time you felt that Chisora was falling behind, again, he'd land one of those big shots and even it up. And then steal back a little the moment. There was nothing but ebbs and flows. In the 8th and 9th round, I believe, and then I forget the other rounds. There was a couple of rounds I made notations to myself where they were just spectacular rounds. But the whole fight was tremendous. I thought, again, Chisora puts himself in a disadvantaged position when he goes on the ropes every once in a while. And maybe he's resting a little bit, but when he goes on the ropes every once in a while and he's not coming forward, then he allows his opponent to take advantage of him being usually a shorter guy, shorter arms, obviously less height, and where it's harder for him to reach the guy if he's laying on the ropes. And the guy also, being his style that he throws round punches don't reach as far as straight punches, so he has to get closer. So when he lays on the ropes, he really puts himself at a disadvantage where he's a little bit of a sitting duck, where the opponent with the long arms, the height, can take advantage a little bit in those spots. And it happened a couple times. But then he gets the motor running, and boy, oh boy, again, his resiliency. Listen, full transparency here. I said after his last fight with Joe Parker, I thought fought a brilliant fight. That was the best Joe Parker I've seen. This is maybe the best Pulev I've seen, and meanwhile he's 42 years old. But after the Parker fight, where he took a lot of clean punches, and he's especially, Chisora's style, Ken, he's especially susceptible to uppercuts. And he got hit some clean ones against Parker. He got hurt. Again, he gets hurt and he recovers. It's uncanny. And same thing against Pulev. He got hurt bad with an uppercut, right uppercut, and then he recovers. And I thought after the Parker fight that he should retire. So again, full transparency, I said it. My mouth came out of my mouth. I'm responsible for everything I said. But then you see him in this fight and you say, oh, why did I say that? But I know why I said it. Because not only did he take a lot of punishment, he's taken it for a lot of years. And I don't know when that moment's going to come where he ain't going to take it no more. I don't know. I really don't. Holyfield, I thought he was shot at a certain point. And then he goes and beats somebody like Mike Tyson. Sometimes these guys are just amazing with their gene pool, with their will, with their ability to be resilient again, to recuperate, to have a second life, if you will. But I do still say that I hope there's not, I wonder what the price will be for him when it finally is enough. Because these punches he absorbs, they don't go into the air. They go into the body, into the brain. So that's where, when I would say, when I said, he should retire, that's where that's coming from for you great British fans out there and other ones that remember what I say. You remember everything. You don't forget nothing. Ken reminds me of that. Oh, yeah, they remember everything, Teddy. I see their comments. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. And call me on everything. Call Ken on everything. Right? But do it right. Do it where you're using common sense, where you're really listening to us, not just knee-jerk going off because you're a fan. There's a balance there. But we're here. We're here to tell you how we feel and to hear how you feel. But again, for the moment, it looks like I was wrong, because look at this battle that he puts forth. But there is some things to throw in there, to qualify it. It was against a 42-year-old. That makes a little difference. It wasn't against a 28-year-old. So, but again, it's still amazing performance by him. Pulev doesn't have as many miles on the odometer, as many punches taken, as many tough fights, and he's 42. But again, Pulev, tremendous performance. I thought, again, I always say what I believe. I know the British fans are a big part of our fan base, and we love them, even though they drive us nuts sometimes, and we drive them nuts. But I thought that Chisora got a little home cooking in that decision. I felt he got a little home cooking in that decision. Now, do I begrudge him? No. Because he's been in that kitchen a long time, in that oven, if you will, all the time. And you know what? He deserves a little home cooking if that's what he got. Because a lot of times he doesn't get it. So I don't begrudge it because it was a close fight. But I just thought on the whole that Pulev may have landed some of the cleaner, more precise, well-placed shots with the way he was fighting on the outside, placing shots, compared to Chisora landing good right hands, no doubt about it, but a little more sporadic. But again, it got heated, it got rumbling, it got tumbling, it got moving, it got going, and it was a terrific fight. It was drama. It was everything that you look for in a great fight, especially a heavyweight fight. If he got a little home cooking, so be it. Either way, he earned it. There were no losers. The way I looked at that kind of fight, the way it was, there was really no losers. And it was a rematch. The first fight, Pulev had won the first time they had fought. So this was the rematch. It evens it up, and to show you what a warrior he is, and not that you need any more proof, but to show you what a warrior and his mentality of a warrior Chisora is, which he shows it by his action, which is the most important way to show it. But who does he ask for? He asked for Wilder. He asked right away after the fight. He asked his promoter, Eddie Hearn, get me Wilder. Who's the hardest puncher probably in heavyweight boxing right now. Even though, he's not technically a good fighter, even though he's been knocked out 2 times in a row by Fury, and knocked out pretty badly. Although you have to give him credit, that last fight he had Fury down too. What a war that was. But he took so much punishment. So you don't know where Wilder is physically or mentally. Who knows? But right away he calls out Wilder. Chisora. It's not like he's calling out as a soft touch. You know what I mean? After all the tough fights he's been in, Ken, you could understand if he would say to Eddie, hey, Eddie, give me a little soft touch, a little something, a little easier. No, not him.
I think Derek knows there's not a ton of fights left, and there's only a few big money fights out there. And candidly, that's probably the only realistic one. He's not getting Fury, AJ, or Usyk anytime soon, right? So it's either fight another guy like a Parker or a Pulev, that kind of like second tier of heavyweights, or a Wilder who's still maybe hovering between tier 1 and 2. The other thing that made me think during this fight, seeing how good Pulev looked, is how irresponsible it was for those bare knuckle guys to put this guy in with Frank Mir. Frank Mir, who's former UFC heavyweight champ, but he's a straight jiu-jitsu player. To put him in with Pulev, I remember saying it when the fight was announced. Are they trying to get Frank Mir murdered? And they almost did. Got knocked out cold on his feet. I mean, it was dangerous.
I agree.
Irresponsible to put. That's a real heavyweight fighter. I mean, Pulev is not a clown.
He's a guy. He's a guy that I think he had somewhere in the vicinity of 300 amateur fights.
Yeah,
he's from Bulgaria. Fought in all the European tournaments and everything. I don't know if he fought in the Olympics. I'm trying to remember, but whatever. I mean, this is a guy who has a pedigree of tremendous amateur background, and obviously has fought top fighters, fought for the title before this fight with Joshua, but he got stopped in that fight. But he's fought for the title. He fought for the title against Klitschko years ago. So, yeah, I mean, your point is well taken. I mean, see, that's the problem, Ken. That's where the danger lies. That's the beyond gray area, to be honest, where you put these events on. In the old days we called them tough man contests, but now they're crossover fights, they're events, whatever you want to call them, and you put them on for the entertainment of people because you hope it's going to make money, and you mix match, right? You grab a guy from boxing, you grab a guy from MMA, you grab a guy from football, you grab a guy from basketball, you do whatever. And it gets dicey. That's where, to your point, Ken, that's where it gets a little dicey. Gets a little dangerous. And, like you said, Mia was, he shouldn't have been in there in the ring. And with that particular level of opponent, obviously, qualified top heavyweight fighter, but
Hey guys, just want to take a quick pause to give a thank you to today's sponsor, Athletic Greens. They've been with us from the beginning. It's the all-in-one daily drink to support better health and peak performance. If you know anything, you know that I love Athletic Greens. It's super easy and convenient to use. I put 1 scoop in the special shaker bottle that comes with it. Boom. Easy peasy, fresh and breezy. These guys spent 10 years with top nutritionists and doctors to create this formula. It's made from 75 whole food sourced ingredients, so it's got vitamins, minerals, all the stuff you're looking for. It's like an insurance policy for your body's health and immunity. It's all you need to stay on top of your health game. So whatever else you take, and really you only need Athletic Greens. Special offer to our listeners, 10 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/Atlas to get the 10 free travel packs. Again, it's athleticgreens.com/Atlas. Today's episode's also brought to you by one of my favorite plant-based products. It's Feel Free from Botanic Tonics, BOTANIC tonics.com. Use the promo code ATLAS to save a whopping 40% off your first order. This stuff is a natural euphoric plant-based elixir. Honestly, it's supposed to create a calming effect. I take it before I run, and I've had some of the best runs of my life, including races. So Botanic Tonics, Feel Free, give them a shot. Use the promo code ATLAS, 40% off your first order.
Speaking of heavyweights, let's revisit quickly Joe Joyce, Christian Hammer. We got a lot of pushback on that. I think the fans were upset that I said that they didn't really look that good. I mean, I don't think Christian Hammer could have looked worse. He landed some big punches. He's obviously a professional fighter with some acumen, but my God, his fitness was terrible. He basically punched himself out. Joe Joyce did good work, and I'm not trying to discredit Joe Joyce, but I didn't look at that fight and go like, yeah, one of these guys is ready to step up to the next level. I looked at it as two kind of contenders, and one was just clearly so out of shape that you couldn't even really get a sense for if he had the skill to hang long enough with Joyce. And Joyce did what he was supposed to do, but I wasn't trying to disrespect Joe Joyce. I know you had some thoughts on that one. What do you think?
This is our customer service department. We and by the way, Ken is in charge of the customer service, by the way. So be nice to him, all right? Be nice to him, because there is only, I remember my son when he started with the Raiders, the late great Al Davis, and he was great. He was special. He hired my son after he had left the Cleveland Browns. You know, when your guy gets fired, everyone gets fired. So my son started off apprenticeshipping with the Jets. Then he was with Mangini. I was helping Mangini over at the Jets with the psychological and the training, physical training with the players there for 3 years. And then Mangini, when he got fired, he went to Cleveland, and he took my son with him. And then in Cleveland, when Mangini got fired, my son wound up everyone got fired. And my son, that's part of the NFL, not for long. And my son went down to the Pro Bowl, thanks to Mike Tannenbaum, who I always remember, and flew him down there. And he went down there to interview. He had a great resume already. And he went down there to interview for a job, to get a job down at the Pro Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. And when he's down there, who hires him? Al Davis. Again, I mean, it might have been one of his last hires before the great Al Davis passed away. And he, he always said, Davis, I'm trying to remember what my point was. I'm sorry, I lost it for a second.
About customer service and about
yeah.
giving
So
people
here,
shit.
I'm starting to feel like I'm having like a Joe Biden moment or something. I'm sorry. I'm
Listen,
sorry. I'm
you want
sorry.
to say you want customer service to get overwhelmed? Start talking about COVID, masks, Biden, anything political,
No,
and
no,
then
no, no.
the
I'm not.
pitchforks
No,
come
I'm
out.
sorry.
If
I'm
you
sorry.
disagree with me,
No,
I hate you.
I'm sorry. I'm just.
People are so
I'm just having a
sensitive.
little fun at myself. I'm having a little fun of myself, poking a little fun of myself. I had
I'm
had one of
teasing you.
those
People
senior.
are so sensitive.
I had one of those senior moments, and so my son is down there. He's at the and look. It was different without Davis. He was still doing Betamax tapes when everybody was doing digital. He was old school. Some people.
Yeah, but did he have a fax machine?
No, I do, but he didn't. He wasn't quite at that level of Teddy Atlas. Not quite, but probably did somewhere. So, everybody's doing digital. He's doing paper. It was different. He was real old school, dinosaur, if you will, and he didn't hire too many people, and so everybody kind of told him. We talked to Bill Parcells, Mangini, a lot of people, and they said, listen, you go over there, it's the one thing about there, you're going to learn. You're going to get an opportunity to learn over there faster than anywhere else because it's going to be demanded of you. You're going to be put into a position where you might be doing the job of 2-3 people. Anyway, he's there for a couple months, and I'm talking to my son every day, and he's over there, and then one day, I don't know how many months into it was. I said, how you doing, bud? He goes, good, Dad. I said, yeah, how's that? He goes, yeah, I'm what's your position, your title, He goes, I'm number 2. I'm the number 2 in charge of player personnel. Whatever it was. I can't remember exactly what the title. I said, oh, my gee, that's tremendous, as a father. That's unbelievable. Already, you're number 2 in your department. That's unreal, Ted. Great. He goes, Dad, there's only 3 people in the department. so I mean, and it's great. And that's what we have with our customer service. You want to talk to somebody, okay, there's one person. It's Ken. And because of Ken, he brought this to my attention, and we decided to talk about because customer service, the customers weren't happy. They were complaining. Our British fans over there were complaining a little bit that we were unfair, to Joyce. And here's my take on it. First of all, Ken, his assessment of Hammer, he's not wrong. I mean, listen, Hammer's an old warhorse. He's a guy that has been in there with a lot of good fighters, and he's gotten rounds with a lot of good fighters. So to the credit of Joyce, he got rid of him where other guys went round, but he's also farther down the road of punishment, of being shot one more. And he wasn't in top shape. I mean, really, you could see that. But Hammer is Hammer. Hammer's a guy who will test certain level guys throughout his career. He's a tough son of a gun, but he's a bit of a caveman. He'll come in there throwing those wide shots and a little bit like going back. I know we got some historians out there, and if they're not, they Google what I say. But you go back to 2-ton Tony Galento back in the 40s. He fought Joe Louis, the great Joe Louis. Now, he was a little bit along those lines. He was a big, heavy guy, not in the greatest shape, or at least that was his shape, all right? That was his shape. He was a little round. And he'd throw haymaker. He could punch with the left hook. He actually dropped Lewis, and then Lewis got him out of there, I think, in the second round. But he was what he was. Hammer's along those lines. He's not your traditional heavyweight that you look at and he has a body of Adonis and you say, okay, no, that's what he is. But you can't judge a book by his cover all the time. And he's tough. And he usually goes rounds. And at this point in his career, he couldn't go. And credit to Joe Joyce placing those body shots, not just the head shots. Credit to him. But the point Ken was making is that you can't go nuts over a victory over Hammer, number one. And even with Hammer's primitive ways, is that fair? And again, I'm giving him all the credit. He's a tough guy. He goes rounds with tough. He's a real fighter. But he's got a lot of losses for a reason. And he's been around a long time. And if he can touch him with some of those haymakers, that's not great for your guy that he could get touched by those punches. But Joe Joyce, for me, I see him for what he is. He's a big, ponderous, strong guy who throws ponderous, bludgeoning punches. Not crisp, explosive shots like a Tyson, but they're damaging punches. They are damaging punches. And if you people still complain after I say this, then I can't help you. But Joyce reminds me, and Rob's going to put it up there for comparison because we talked about this before the show. We always try to get ready for you guys to give you the best show possible from all dimensions. And he reminds me of a younger George Foreman, the first coming of George Foreman before his reincarnation when he left for 10 years. After getting beat by Jimmy Young and Muhammad Ali and Zaire. And then he came back 10 years later, and it was the loving hamburger, cheeseburger eating George Foreman who was great. Great in different ways, even greater mentally than he was the first Foreman, who was more of a bully. But the first Foreman was heavyweight champ, and he was an Olympic gold medalist. And Joyce reminds me of similarities with his style, his ponderous punching, his power in that way. He's not the fastest-handed guy in the world. He's not the fastest-footed guy. He's plodding. But if I could make a comparison with the great George Foreman, who's one of the top 10 heavyweights of all time on my list, of all time. He's somewhere on there. In the number 10, number 9, somewhere in there. I have guys, you got to deal with Larry Holmes. When you get to that part of the list, you got to deal with Sonny Liston. There's a lot of great. And then, of course, early in the list, you got Jack Dempsey. You got Jack Johnson. He might be top 2. You got Joe Louis. You got Muhammad Ali. You got some real quality guys. So for him to be and for me to say, I'm not saying this guy's ever going to be George Foreman, but there are tendencies that I look at that are relatable to him. So Joyce is a guy, I think he's going to fight for a heavyweight title. They're going to keep him on track. I said it in our last podcast. That's why I don't know why you guys got a little so out of sorts. And I got to stand up for my man Ken. Not if he's wrong, but I do have to stand up for him to maybe better interpret what he was saying from his eyes. And like I said, he wasn't really off. Joyce, I give him credit. I give him maybe more credit in a way that I see him. I see the shortcomings, but I see his strengths. I see there's nobody great out there, and I see his toughness. I see his relentlessness. That's a quality. That's an ability, and that's going to play out. And I see him fitting in there for the world title in the next year, almost, I would say. I see him where I could have saw him fighting Fury, but I think Fury's retired if we take him at his word, and he's going to wind up fighting Ngannou, the UFC champion, for mega money in one of those events, if they can pull that off. And that's what. But I made this point last week. If Dillian White and Fury can put almost 100,000 people into Wembley, Joe Joyce could do it. Why couldn't Joe Joyce do it? So whether Joe Joyce winds up fighting the winner of Usyk and Joshua, and I'll tell you something, I think he knocks out Joshua. How's that feel for you, Brits? Put that in your pipe and smoke it. That's going to make you happy, huh? That ain't going to make you too happy. I know it. You're going to be hoping that I have to eat crumpets again. I get it. But I tell you, at this point, Yeah, I take him to knockout. People are going to go nuts. Now, the people that were mad at us for not giving Joyce enough credit, they're probably going to be happy. But I'm not doing it to make you happy or to make you angry. I'm doing it out of what I feel, what my experience tells me, what my judgment tells me. I can see that. I can't see Joe Joyce beating a Fury. No, I can't. Because of, like I said, his shortcomings. But because of his style and his strengths that he has, yeah, at this point, I could see him, he might get his chin checked a little bit, and we have to find out if it stood up against Joshua, who can bang, obviously. But, I could see him taking down Joshua. But, of course, Joshua might get taken down by Usyk. Before that, we don't know yet, for a second time in a row. We don't know. But
that's what I was going to ask you about with that fight coming up on August 20th. We've discussed it in the past, but anything special you're looking for there? And I think I know the answer, but what's your expected outcome there?
Well, before I even say that, I want to say one thing, and then I'll get to that, Ken. I would love to see a shootout between Joyce before he fights for the title. I don't think they're going to do it because they know what I know. It's dangerous. But I'd love to see a shootout between Joyce and Wilder. We were talking about that Wilder was caught out, or that the real tough Chisora, you got to admire him, he'll fight anyone, that he told his promoter, Eddie Hearn, get me Wilder. Well, I would love to see Joyce against Wilder. That would be an earthquake fight.
What about Joyce Chisora?
Listen, I think Joyce might be a little too young, a little too big, a little too strong. But you know what? As Chisora don't know how to do anything but make wars and make great fights. It would be fun. I think he might come on the short end of it, but then again, he would definitely, as the terminology I used earlier, he would definitely check the chin of Mr. Joyce before the night. Check your hat, check your coat, Ken. With Chisora, he checks your chin at the door. Yeah, but
make sure he brought it with him.
Let me get to what you asked now, which is the question. One of the questions the fans want to hear out there about the fight with the second fight with Usyk and Joshua. That's what you just asked me.
Yeah, just a quick hit on that one because we're going to do a whole fight plan on it next Thursday, which will be available in anticipation of the August 20th
I talked
fight.
about it 2 weeks ago, but I hit on it again. I think it could go a couple ways. Here's the thing. First of all, I think Usyk's going to win, but I can't go against Usyk. How can I go against the guy that gives you no reason to go? He was undefeated cruiserweight champ, unified all the titles, the best cruiserweight ever besides Holyfield. He's an Olympic gold medalist. He doesn't know how to lose. And then he goes and pulls off the upset against the bigger fighter, just like Holyfield did when he stepped up against Buster Douglas from cruiserweight to heavyweight. He goes and does it. He beats Joshua. With this, there's an X factor, intangible, with this war, this terrible, terrible war that's going on in the Ukraine with Russia, where Usyk will either be fighting with more of a power, if you will, more incentive, more, motivation. Not that he needs more. He's a proud guy. But than ever, representing the hope of the Ukrainians. Or he could be influenced the other way, where after seeing what he's seen, his towns destroyed, his country being laid into rubble, parts of it, people being killed, he might look at it like, you know what? In the scheme of life, boxing's not as important as life. And that could change him a little. I don't know which way. I'm going to go with the first way, that he's going to fight as the representative of hope for the Ukrainian people out there that need hope right now. I'm going to go with that. His versatility, his mind, I've said it before, and I know a few of the people, again, you're going to have to go to the customer service department and talk to my man if you have some complaints about what I'm about to say. But sometimes I think, And you want to interpret it the wrong way, it's up to you guys. Sometimes I think that Joshua's too good a loser. And when I say that, do I mean he should curse? Oh, Teddy, you mean he should curse? He act like a fool like this guy did and that, and you start pointing all these names out and act like Brono, or act like this one, or act like that one. No, I'm not saying that at all. You, come on, don't be so. Come on, be a little smarter than that. What I'm saying is, I know he's a classy guy, and he doesn't go out there. And I'm not saying I want a sore loser that says the wrong things, but I'm just saying that sometimes it looks like Joshua accepts losing a little too freely, like he did against Ruiz the first time in the Garden. Almost like a guy who's made too much money. That it's not quite... And look, do I know how he feels inside and when he's alone? No. I can only go by what I can go by. But sometimes I just feel that it's not important enough to him anymore. I think it was important enough to him when he fought Klitschko the first time. And he got dropped. And he pulled himself up and he went there and he won the fight. Because he hadn't gotten to where he's gotten to now with the money, the prestige, the accolades, all the things that make you safe in life. Sometimes a fighter, the worst thing that can happen to a fighter in the fight business is to be safe. You know, we all want to be safe. That can be a danger to a fighter, to be safe. And that can be danger to people in the financial business, Ken. In your business, it can be dangerous to people in a lot of different business to be safe. That I'm safe now, because it takes away your abilities, your most important abilities that you need to go to places. Your drive, your urgency to go to places when you aren't safe, and you need to go to those places to continue to stay on top. To continue to prosper, to continue to triumph, to continue to conquer. So I look at it, it'll be interesting. Look, there's still the right hand of Joshua, the bigger man that could land against Usyk. But Usyk's pretty smart, and he's more rounded than Joshua. He makes Joshua look more one-dimensional when he fights Usyk, because Usyk shows those other dimensions. And the most important dimension is the mental dimension. So anyway, that's a nice clip for Rob to put up there too, and that's nice for people to hear. I hope. Listen, I hope you guys, again, customer service is here for you, baby. You're looking at him. You're looking at my man right there, like the great. Like my son told me when he was with the great Al Davis, Dad, I'm number 3. I'm number 2 in charge of my department. I said, wow, buddy, that's true. Yeah, but Dad, there's only 3 guys. but my son got to the top of where he got. He got to head of scouting. The head of scouting department, which director of scouting, which is pretty damn good.
Yep. Well, 2 weeks after that, we've got Andrew Ruiz finally back in action, and he's in tough against Luis Ortiz, who's probably 65 at this point, but can still crack, and that's going to be a tough challenge. That's going to be...
How old is Ortiz, Ken? Since we're joking around. But what is he, 42, 43?
Yeah, let me check his official age, but he's definitely up there.
And he's a southpaw.
Yeah, old school Cuban fighter. He's going to be fundamentally sound. What are you looking for in that one?
Yeah, listen, Ruiz is supposed to win that one. I mean, he's old, like you said. Ortiz is old. He loses to the top. I mean, not all, but I mean, the top fights for when he fought for the title against Wilder, right? He lost both those fights. He represented himself, pretty damn good, and he hurt Wilder in at least one of those fights.
He had Wilder in big trouble. He's 43 years old. He's 33-2. He's been knocked out twice by Wilder, and he's knocked out 28 of his 33 opponents.
He's a good puncher.
He's a very real solid fighter.
He's a solid technical fighter, good puncher, 43 years old. Had a lot of amateur fights with the great, amateur program that the Cubans have. He's got all that pedigree going for him. Listen, Ruiz is supposed to win it, but he didn't look good. He did not look good. Maybe he took off too much weight too soon. I don't know. But he didn't look good against Chris Arreola. And he got hurt badly against Arreola. And I think for that, Ortiz punches at least as good as Arreola. And Arreola was older too. And Arreola had been on a losing streak and obviously not near his prime. Not even near his prime. And nobody thought, including myself, thought he was going to give Ortiz any kind of run for his money. And he sure as hell gave him a run for his money. Boy, oh boy, did he give him a run for his money. And he's another guy. I love Arreola. And he's another guy who said after one of his fights he should retire. I think it was after the fight with the undefeated at the time. He's been knocked out since. Polish fighter when he fought him in the Garden, remember? And
Barclays Center. Barclays Center. I was at that
exactly.
fight.
What was the name of the Polish fighter? He was undefeated. Now he's been knocked out.
Kownacki.
Yeah. And look, he got stopped by Kownacki, and I thought he should retire. He gets hit too much. He's been around a long time. Arreola's taken a lot of punishment. He's got a great heart. But I thought it was time. And then he comes back, and what's he do? He almost knocks out. Ruiz. So again. I think that that was Ruiz's first fight with his new trainers, with Canelo's, with Canelo's people. And again, he didn't look good. He didn't look that great. But as always, he shows heart. It was a life and death in some spots with Arreola. I think, again, Ortiz, if Arreola could hurt him, Ortiz could hurt him. And it should be interesting for a minute, more than a minute maybe. It should be interesting. I think it's more interesting on the side. I don't know. You never know when suddenly Ortiz really gets old. That's kind of what we're talking about. But it's more interesting from the Ruiz side because I think a lot of people just kind of dismissed him after that bad performance. Obviously he lost the rematch when we got way too heavy against Joshua. And then he goes and he has this fight with Arreola with his new trainers. People expected a lot, and they were disappointed. So a lot of people wrote him off. So this is an important fight for Ruiz to see if they write him back on, to see if he's back in the mix again. Because it looked like he might have removed himself from the mix a little bit. So this is more interesting to see what Ruiz does. And I think there's interest for that reason.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's get into some of the quick hits. And the first one that I want to touch on is you mentioning customer service. Last week after we did the show, we missed one of the fights down in Australia, the cruiserweight title fight. And one of the Aussie fans, Scott Allen, hit me on Instagram, was like, "Hey, mate, where are you on this fight?" And I was like, "Oh, damn, we missed one." And it was Opetaia versus Maris Briedis, the Latvian, the Aussie versus the Latvian cruiserweight champ. I think it was the IBF title. And wow, what a rumble. Opetaia gets the unanimous decision, suffers a broken jaw in the third round, and just keeps fighting. His jaw so busted he couldn't even do the post-fight interview. All credit to him. I'm sorry we missed this one. Sometimes when these fights are in Oz at odd hours, like when Inoue fights, for instance, they're at such crazy hours and they're not really advertised over here. But nevertheless, we should have our finger on the pulse. I missed that one. It's on me. So for Scott Allen, Teddy, how'd you like that Opetaia versus Maris Briedis upset? By the way, Opetaia was a 2.5 to 1 underdog going into that fight. He certainly didn't fight like an underdog, winning the unanimous decision. Man, all action fight. Those guys are big too. They were cracking.
Yeah, first of all, cruiserweights. First of all, it's not on you. We're together on this. So I take as much responsibility for not touching on it as you. But let's not get carried away either, because we love all our fans, but how do I say this without getting in trouble? But just cause a few Aussies down under get a little ruffled doesn't mean that, that was really, Ward or Turo Gatti too that people were looking forward to. I don't think that was necessarily marked on anyone's calendar over where I look to say, oh, this is one we can't miss this one. And I always say it, Ken. They don't publicize. They don't let you know these damn fights are even on. Again, we're not looking for an excuse. But again, we love you, Aussies. Aussie. We love yous. But come on. A few guys, they get a little upset and because, of course, to them, it's the biggest fight in the world. But it wasn't quite, again, on the universal billboard and calendar of everybody, every boxing fan in the civilized world. So I disagree with you on one thing. First of all, again, thank our guy in charge of customer service that we are revisiting this. First of all, okay? So that's number one. Number two, I disagree with Ken that it was a great fight. I think it was great heart. I think it was a one-sided fight into around the 10th round, 9th round, whatever. 3/4 of the fight, I thought that Opetaia, the Aussie, the challenger, undefeated challenger, now he's the undefeated champion, was way ahead. I thought he was two-dimensional for Briedis, who was one-dimensional. Briedis was just a strong, tough, and as Ken said, he fought with a broken jaw from what round, Ken, they say? They don't know for sure, but from early in the fight, right?
He broke his jaw in the 3rd round. They said he fought 9 rounds.
First of all, has it been confirmed with x-rays and doctor reports? I don't know. I always like to...
Someone sent me an x-ray, and I know he couldn't do the interview after the fight because he couldn't talk.
All right. But I'm not saying he didn't have a broken jaw. I just like to know it was confirmed. But here's the thing. That's why as a commentator I learned... I used to love what these commentators just say. Oh, his hand is broken. Oh, his jaw is broken. Oh, his nose is broken. Are you a doctor? I know you're a commentator. Are you also a doctor? Did you just stay at a Motel 8 last night? And whatever that commercial was, where, you stay at a Motel 8, whatever that was, round robin, one of those things. Holiday Inn. Holiday Inn. Are you a surgeon? No, but I stayed at a Holiday Inn last night. Oh, I get it. So, you got to be careful when you say, oh, he's got a broken jaw, a broken hand, a broken this, until you know for a fact, until there's an x-ray, until a doctor verifies it. But anyway, he was definitely in distress. He may have had a broken jaw. There's no disputing Briedis how strong physically and how tough he is. And he's a good right-hand puncher. But there's no disputing from Teddy Atlas's eyes that he's a one-dimensional guy that comes in the front door all night, and he was getting outboxed by Opetaia, the challenger, who was much more dimensional. He was countering, he was using the ring, he was pot-shotting him with straight left hands. He was using the jab, he was putting combinations together. He was doing so much more than Briedis was doing. Briedis was pursuing, looking for a home with the right hand. He never landed really clean early. And then finally he did get his moments. And that's when the fight became interesting. In the 9th, 10th round, whatever round it was, he just kept coming, and finally he landed the right hand. He landed a straight right hand, which he was looking to land, and he landed the right uppercut. And he got the attention of Opetaia, and he slowed him down. And it became interesting. And he was coming on like gangbusters, or trying to come on. And he knew he was behind, and he was trying to keep the title. He was trying to make the comeback. And he ran out of time. And to the credit of Opetaia was part of why he ran out of time. Opetaia got himself together, and he finished up the way that a champion needs to finish up to be a champion. So I saw it one-sided for the first three. I didn't see it scintillating. I didn't see a barn burner. I didn't see, Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti won, or Corrales and Castillo won. I didn't see that. I didn't. I'm sure the Aussies did. If I could look through the glasses you guys were looking through, I'm sure. And I get it. I understand. That's why you're a fan. You're fanatical, and you're proud of your guy, and it's great. And he won in front of his home crowd in Australia, down under, and now he's going to get a chance, being an undefeated champion, to make a lot of money because obviously he draws, and the Aussie fans obviously are committed, and he'll do, he'll be able to do great over there. But and being that Opetaia is a southpaw. That's one of the reasons why Briedis was looking for the right hand all night, because right hands could be southpaw killers. And he was looking for it, but he was getting outboxed. He was getting outspeeded, out jabbed, out combination, out everything. And then he finally landed the right hand against the southpaw, and it got interesting at the end. Put it this way, he made Opetaia earn the rest of the fight, where he was getting it fairly easy, I would say, the early part of the fight.
Yeah, Rob posted some stories while you were talking there that say confirmed he had a broken jaw in both places for at least 6, probably 9 rounds. So there's X-rays floating around out there. So
hey, give him credit. He behaved like a champion. He did. A warrior, gladiator, whatever you want to say. He behaved like a champion. Don't forget, Muhammad Ali fought with a broken jaw probably 10 rounds. We don't know for sure, but probably about 10 rounds with the late, great Ken Norton. So there's a precedent for that stuff, and it's done by champions. That's part of being a champion. That's part of earning the right to be called a champion. In anything. It doesn't have to be in boxing. In anything. You earn the right to be called a champion by the way you behave when things are most difficult. When other people find a way out, you find a way in when things are at their darkest.
All right. Next up, I wanted to talk about, just quickly, quick hitter. Ray Vargas dethrones Vargas Magsayo via split decision for the WBC featherweight title on Showtime Saturday night. Good scrap between two featherweights. Usually the lower weights don't get me that excited, maybe with the exception of Inoue and maybe this Bam Rodriguez coming up. Those, a few exceptions. But I thought this was a really good action-packed fight, back and forth for a little while. And Ray Vargas gets the split decision, both undefeated coming into the fight. How'd you like that one?
Disagree with you completely. Again, it's okay, though. It's part of the show. I agree with you at the end, though, so I'm with you. But I thought very close to what I described with Briedis and Opetaia in the cruiserweight fight. I thought the first 3 quarters of the fight was one-sided. I thought it was all Vargas. Vargas, who's trained by the legendary, and they made a big deal. The only reason I'm bringing it up is that the commentators made a huge deal about it. The legendary Nacho Beristain, the great Mexican fighter who's had fighters like Juan Marquez, great fighters, and Magsayo was trained by Freddie Roach. And let me tell you, for what it's worth, again, only because they brought it up, if they were trying to make it a contest between the trainers, well, then Beristain won it pretty much hands down. Because if they're going to make it that way, then you look at Vargas. Vargas was just much more of a complete fighter. Again, along the lines of Briedis and Opetaia, where Opetaia was more complete than Briedis was. Vargas was using his jab, he was boxing, using a ring, he was picking spots, he was throwing combination, and Freddie Roach's fighter was really relegated to one dimension, looking to land a big right hand or a big left hook. But he was pursuing. He had a dangerous right hand. He was pursuing. He was looking to time Vargas with the right hand, but he was coming up short all night until he finally landed. That's when it became interesting, Ken. But for the first 3/4 of the fight, whatever it was, I can't remember exactly when he got dropped, but it was one-sided for me. It was Vargas putting on a clinic of boxing against the guy in Magsayo who was just coming forward looking to land one punch, and he was coming up short. But then I tweeted to Rob the round before Magsayo finally scores with the right hand. I said Vargas is the more complete fighter. He's got more of an arsenal. He's using it. He's putting punches together. He's doing this. He's doing that. But there's still danger because Magsayo's a good right hand puncher, and Magsayo's looking to time him with the right hand. The next round, what happens? He times him with the right hand. He drops him. He hurts him. Matter of fact, my son was in from Vegas. We were so happy we had him and his grandson and his wife here for the week. And they went back yesterday. And he was watching a fight with me, and he says, Dad, that's why I wish you were still calling fights. It's my son. Of course, he's going to take my side. But he said, that's why I wish you were still calling them. Because you just told us what was going to happen. And it happens a few minutes later. So, but for me, it was obvious. And he finally caught him. And this is where it became extraordinary, Ken. Where, for me, from my view, my vantage point as a trainer, Vargas was out on his feet. He was concussed. He never saw the punch. His legs were gone. He looked like one of those guys in the circus walking on those stilts, where they're 20 feet tall and they're walking on stilts. He looked like that. He couldn't get his legs back for a couple rounds. And he was basically fighting on heart and instincts. Instincts, pure, unadulterated instincts. He was gone. And wow. Nature is great. Instincts can be so powerful. And we can find a source inside ourselves. If we go there, if we train ourselves to do it, that really is magnificent. What Vargas did, and I'm pointing it out where I don't think he got near enough attention. I don't think he got any attention for this. But what he did was magnificent. And I'm pointing it out. He found a way while he was out on his feet to survive, to stay in there. And then finally, towards the end, he got himself together a little bit where he was able to do more. And he got to the finish line. And he behaved like a freaking champion. He was fighting Magsayo, who was the champion. But Vargas had been a champion at 122, a division lower. And he had stepped up to this division. Now he's a 2-division champion. But he won the title by outboxing Magsayo. Outboxing, as I said, Burstein's guy outboxed Roach's guy, if you want to go down the path that the commentators were trying to take you to make a little more graphics to it, a little more sizzle to it, a little more bells and whistles, whatever. I don't think he even needed that. At the end of the day, he was outboxing him, but he wasn't going to get home without being tested, and he got tested. He got tested. Are you ready to behave like a champion again? And he did. And I just thought it was spectacular to see that man, what he did, and how he was able to maintain himself after being hurt as badly as he was hurt. So all kudos to Vargas and to Nacho Berestein, who's 82 years old. Wow. 82 years old, he was working that corner, still training fighters. That's how you stay young. You do something you love, and you keep doing it. And that's what I saw there.
Yep. All right. Last one here. UFC main event, fight night from the Apex Center, the Battle of the Rafas. Rafael Dos Anjos, the old warhorse, versus the hot streaking Rafael Fiziev. Going into the 5th round, on the official scorecards, we have Fiziev up by 2 rounds going into the 3rd, and tied on 1 scorecard. So all he had to do was stay on his feet, and he would have won the fight. But Man, he clipped Dos Anjos with a left hook and jumped on him and finished him. Sneaky left hook. It was really good. I mean, I thought Dos Anjos really looked good in spots. You know, I would have expected Dos Anjos to try and do a little more jiu-jitsu, given Fiziev's kickboxing background. He trains in Muay Thai heavily, lives in Thailand. And obviously, Dos Anjos, a decorated black belt. I was expecting more of a ground game. I think Fiziev might have been surprised too, but Dos Anjos stood on his feet. They cracked all night long, and in the end, Fiziev knocks him out, gets the win. How'd
it's
you
all
like
about
that
geography. So Anjos didn't get the geography enough, to your point, quite enough to really put forward his skills to the utmost. But first of all, needs to be pointed out, Dos Anjos, former champion, UFC lightweight champion, 37 years old. So he's in the twilight. He might be past the twilight. But he's a guy who's a little used up. I think that's fair. A little shop worn. I think that's fair. But still, you know, got the pedigree of a great champion. Great former champion. And he's, you know, tough as nails, as they all are. And he lost the first 2 rounds. He was in the wrong geography. Fiziev, the first 2 rounds was striking. He had the edge. It was 2-0. Then the third round, to your point, I thought Dos Anjos, at the very least, I thought it was an even round. It was really a close round.
One of the 3 judges had the third for Dos Anjos, and they all had the fourth for Dos Anjos.
Yeah, he was coming on. I thought the third, he started turning the fight around a little bit towards where he needed it, trying to get closer to his geography, where he could get his hands on a better striker. And I thought that it was a real close round, even round, whatever. You want to give it to him, fine. Then the fourth round, he won. Dos Anjos won that for me, and obviously, as you said, for the judges. He won that round. Why? Because he got to take down, again, he got the geography he needed to be in the territory, the environment that was best suited for him, on the floor, on the mat. And then it started getting interesting, and then what happens? Seconds into the fifth round, bang, boom, boom, ba, bing, boom, you know, as the late, great Jackie Gleason and the Honeymooners used to say, to the moon, Alice. You know, I mean, or if you watch those Batman shows years ago and you saw the graphics they would put up, zang, bang, boom. This was bang. Sensational knockout. But as I always say, Ken, it ain't just about the punch that lands. It's about the setup, the delivery system. It's always there, and sometimes it gets missed, but it's always there. And the delivery system was spectacular. Different, unique, but spectacular. He closed that gap, he being Fiziev, he closed that gap with Dos Anjos the way a traditional fighter, boxer would close it would be behind the jab. He did it the way sometimes UFC fighters do it. And it was ingenious. He did it with a flying knee. He used the knee to do two things. To close the gap and to distract Dos Anjos. So that he could land the left hook while he was distracted, while he was close enough. The flying knee got him close enough, in position, delivered him. FedEx, baby. Delivered him. And then when he got there, it also had distracted the eye level of Dos Anjos, where he never saw the left hook. He was worried about something coming from beneath, and the danger came from above. Beautiful setup. The left hook lands. He never saw it. He's out. Bang. Lights out. Again, I appreciate, I see the punch and the sensationalism of it, but I appreciate the delivery system, the science. And as tough as these guys are, it's always the guys with more science that are going to be the top guys. At the end of the day, Fiziev showed me a physically strong, obviously tough, proud, confident, but very physically strong, good, solid striker who can handle himself in all realms of the octagon. wherever he has to handle himself in whatever areas, he's equipped to handle himself. But he looks like a good, strong, technically solid, not great in one area or spectacular, except his power. He's got good power in one area, but good and solid, nice striker. Again, who can handle himself in that octagon and in any place that he has to. I was, again, the fans got what they wanted. At the end of the day, they got a spectacular knockout.
Yep, great show from the UFC. Well, Teddy, that's a pretty full week. We covered a lot there. I hope the fans are happy. I'm sure if they're not, they'll let me know if we missed anything else. But I think we're up to speed on everything going on. We got a UFC fight night coming up. Like we said, there's some big fights coming up, and we're going to film some fight plans next week in New York City. So be on the lookout for that stuff. And, you got anything else before we say goodbye?
No, just look out for the sharks in the water there, not all the sharks are in the water, too. Look out for the ones that are on the land, too.
Land sharks.
Have a great time there with your family. Enjoy it. And I'll see you in about 2 weeks, a little less, actually, in New York, down at the Trinity Gym with Martin Snow, and we'll be doing fight plans.
That's it. All right, guys, thanks for being with us. Appreciate the support. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube video. It helps us a lot. We really appreciate you guys. And we'll be back next week per usual. Have a great week.